We now go on to the next speaker. I'd like to invite Professor Ravindra PN. He's a professor of neuroscience at Gadag Medical College in Karnataka. He has been researching on brain, meditation, sleep, cognition, and work productivity for some time now. He's been actively working in the HH Dalai Lama's Mind and Science Institute, interacting with a lot of Buddhist monks, and has been, very fortunately, a volunteer with the Ramakrishna movement, helping mold the character of a lot of youth who come to him. May I request Professor Ravindra to come over and address us on successfully breaking and changing habits, a neuroscience perspective. Professor Ravindra.
Seeking the blessings of the Holy Trio and the blessings of all the revered Swamijis over here. So good afternoon to everybody. I have been asked to speak from the neuroscience point of view about the successfully breaking and the changing of the habits. Being trained in the terms of a neuroscience, I'm being working in this particular field from last a decade or so, especially in the field of how yoga and meditation works on the brain and what is the outcome of it, and understanding of the mechanism. Because this neuroscience is my both the passion and also my profession. After coming into neuroscience, probably I'm in a better position to understand Swamiji's teachings, especially with Raj Yoga, far better. It happens once. If you look at the development of neuroscience, a new branch of neuroscience is coming up, which is called as contemplative neuroscience. Today, two stalwarts, especially with Dr. Richard Davidson from Wisconsin University, has been champion about this, about contemplative neuroscience. How does the brain work when you contemplate about yourself? And I've been at the first symposium of contemplative neuroscience in Denver, US, for the selected group of people, very few from our country, and I was one in the symposium. The first plenary lecture of the symposium was by John Kabat-Zinn, who is considered to be in the academia as a great champion in this particular field. And I was very happy and astonished to see the first slide of John Kabat-Zinn plenary lecture, where he projected the 1893 Swamiji's Chicago lecture as his first slide. And John Kabat-Zinn said, if at all today, as a core academicians of neuroscience, we are sitting in this hall and we are discussing something on contemplative neuroscience, the credit show to this particular event that happened in 1893 on the Chicago address. Because it was that particular event that has changed a lot how the science started understanding the great the wisdom of our ancient rishis. Why this happened is because when Swamiji was there in United States, we came to know that he had an interaction with William James. Today, if you read any psychology, neuroscience books, without paying a tribute to William James, page doesn't turn. And in that particular meeting, a lot of the exchange that happens with Swamiji and William James. And if anybody in this audience who are into academia of psychology, psychiatry, or neuroscience, or whatever it is, please read William James and traces William James before the meeting of this Swamiji, and after the writings of William James, after this particular meeting, we can see a big paradigm shift in the William James thinking. And this what triggers to build the bridge between the spiritual science and the modern science, and including the John Kabat-Zinn in that symposium, he gives his first reverence to Swamiji. See, this particular event is very important. Giving reverence to Swamiji in the ashrama tradition or in India, it's okay. But you see, that particular meeting was a core academic meeting in a small hall where we had 3 Nobel laureates sitting and we were chatting, and in that, the first plenary lecture, a tribute was given to Swamiji. This is how, even in the academia, right, now the people have started listening or getting the wisdom from Swamiji's literature, especially with his Raja Yoga. Why I want to emphasize Raja Yoga is because now I would like to introduce 3 important concepts in neuroscience. Probably from last morning, Dr. Lakshmi Narasimhan, and also with one with the on screen, you have seen the one important concept is neural plasticity. What is neural plasticity? Neural plasticity states that your brain is not a static organ, it is very dynamic. The shape, the connections between the neurons, you can arrange the connections the way you want. That is very important. It is these connections are not genetically determined. I can rewire the connections the way I want. This is one important concept that you have to understand. It's called as neural plasticity. This plays a very important role in our changing our habits, breaking our habits, and developing a new habits. Number 1. Number 2, concept is epigenetics. What is epigenetics? All these days we used to say, okay, I have a gene to become an alcoholic, and if I become an alcoholic, my gene has to be blamed. If I become an addict for a drug, my gene has to be blamed because my parents were alcoholic and I have inherited that gene, and because I have a gene, this addiction has come to me. But nowadays, let me make it very, very clear, the expression of genes, even though if it is there in your brain, the expression of it depends on your mental environment. We call it as a microenvironment in your frontal cortex. I'll just show you those slides. I'm just giving you the overall concepts. So neuroplasticity, and you have epigenetics. The third one, of course, all of us we know, you have a bidirectional highway connection between your brain and the body. Whatever the thoughts or emotions that arises in your mind or in your brain, through the chemical messengers, it comes to your body, and through your body, you get the signals. And we have to develop that intuitive mind or a focused mind to grasp that particular signal for which the body is giving, and we can change our habits. So these are 3 important concepts. And the fourth, probably you may think it's a very bold statement. If you ask me a proof, I cannot show you the proof, but evolutionary, our brain has been designed for goodness, always. A very simple experiments with 2 to 3 month of old kids who doesn't know what is good and what is bad. It is very clearly established. You do some doll play or experiments, 2 sets, where one doll is helping the another doll, and you have another set where one doll is, it is betraying the another doll, and you give the option. 99% all these small babies, they just go and capture the doll that helped the other doll, not the doll that it betrayed the other doll. But psychologically speaking, their brain is not in a capacity to understand which is good and which is bad. But you have something intrinsically where the nature has given that we always tend to be for good and we select for good. And once we develop the consciously that we have to do good is one of the principle for us to develop a good habit. So a statement from Aristotle. All of us, we want to be excellent. Nowadays, excellence has been, a metric to measure the excellence is through the action. But he says what we repeatedly do is excellence. Then excellence is not an act, but it's an habit. If I'm an excellent in one particular aspect, it is the habit of being excellent that have been cultivated through years of together, which make me to be a very excellent. I would like to give you three important, few real-time experiences, because I do conduct a lot of study circles in medical, because I'm in a medical school. We have a lot of undergrad, postgraduate, PhD, every students, and we do sit weekly twice for the study circles. And also I worked in Karnataka University as the honorary director for Vivekananda studies, where I used to give weekend classes. So a lot of people used to come that they have to cultivate some habit, they have to not. I'll just give you three important examples. Number one of our medical undergrad student, he wanted to develop a habit of getting up early in the morning at 5 o'clock. All of us, we have tried. Especially in high schools, we have that, the timetable, get up at 5 o'clock, you brush, bath at 6 o'clock, study at 7 o'clock, nothing is going to happen. Right? It will be there. But he determined that he wanted to get up at 5 o'clock. So he tried 1 day, 2 days, maximum was 5:30 and he used to doze off. But he was determined, no, I have to get up at 5 o'clock. And he devised his own way of getting up at 5 o'clock, not only getting up at 5 o'clock, but to sustain that wakefulness until that critical time of 6:30 or 7 o'clock, after which he doesn't get any sleep. He has a very funny way. So he got up at 5 o'clock and he used to see movies at 5 o'clock in the morning. So he got up at 5 o'clock, go to YouTube, see comedy movies, see and hear some inspiring lectures, until he selected that until 6:30 I have to be. After that he won't get this sleep. He did this for 3 weeks. From the 4th week onwards, right, when he got up at 5 o'clock, he didn't want movie, he didn't want any inspiring talk, okay, and he just started reading, and today still he is practicing. Now what happened at this point of time? See, this is one scenario I have to give you, because here this particular student didn't want to overcome any old habits, but he wanted to cultivate a new habit. Now when you want to cultivate a new habit, your sustenance is very, very important, where the neuron connection should happen and it has to be strong enough. The results have clearly shown the minimum days that is needed to cultivate any new habit is around 19 to 20 days. It depends on the task, it can go for the months. So this fellow did for 3 weeks, and from the 4th week onwards, okay, he could able to get up at 5 o'clock and he continued. This is number one scenario. Now what happened when you want to cultivate a new habit? You are educating your brain to have this new habit, and when you are educating this brain, there are specific neuronal connections that happens, and it becomes stronger and stronger and stronger, and the more stronger it becomes, right, it will be very easier for you. You read Swamiji's Rajayoga lectures, he gives the same concept. He says, you think that your brain is like a lump, and you prick thought, or thought is like a needle, and one needle or one thought, you say that needle go and it marks prick in the brain. And this is the concept where Swamiji gave, mind you, even before the concept of neuroplasticity, where the neuroscience didn't know about it. It was only in 1906 Charles Sherrington gave this wonderful statement that the brain is an enchanting loom, it rewires and all those things. Now, when these two connection that happens, when it becomes strong and strong and strong, it becomes our habit. And Swamiji further says, because this particular road is not there in your brain, if you want to cultivate any new habit, you give a new idea, the first reaction or behavior from the person will be always a rejection. Why always there will be a rejection? Because this pathway in your brain is not very strong enough. When the neuroplasticity happens, when this pathway becomes is very strong, right, it becomes automatic for you. So it's like that you're following, you want to cross a forest, a dense forest, when you want to go from the one to the other, on a walking, you get a lot of obstacles, yes, but you go on walking, a road is laid. Once the road is laid, you can easily cross. But till that road is laid is what we have to do. So if you want to cultivate a new habit, remember, you have to be consistent enough to practice the same at least for a month consistently. If at all, if there is an inherent rejection from inside, it is going to come. It's a normal process. You should not, succumb to that particular process. Why? Stronger the rejection, you should understand, this particular path in my brain is not yet strong. And if you're determined that I have to cultivate this habit, be consistent and make the neural pathway to be very strong enough in your brain, and it becomes your new habit. So the first concept of your neural plasticity. I give you another example. One more student of mine, since his high school, especially at the time of exams, he had a habit of chewing gum, and he used to chew around 30 to 40 chewing gums every day. Since his 8th standard. Now he is studying his second MBBS. And when he joined the medical school, and he wanted to come out of this particular habit, and he knew that he is getting, marginally getting addicted to it. Then I told him, see, if you want to come out of any of the old habit, you should not confront that habit. Why you should not confront the habit? Because of years of your practice, that particular road is very strong. And you have to make, friendly with that particular habit, and you have to reduce. Then I said, sir, what should I do? He told, see, it comes only at your exams, at the time of exams, because you feel stressed. Whenever we feel stressed, remember, we cultivate these habits, because it stimulates your rewards. Or we eat more during exams, yes, because it rewards, right? We tend to socialize more during exams. Remember that we have that urge to more socialize because it gives us some reward, right? Some of them, they go for nail biting, especially with small kids, because it gives you reward, right? And these are all the mechanisms that happens. Then I told him, see, instead of going for 30 to 40 chewing gums, you have one chewing gum after you complete every chapter. So after every chapter, one chewing gum. After every chapter, one chewing gum. Then subsequently he developed not only one, after completing of one system. So you have completed all things, what you have read about the heart, one chewing gum. Everything about brain, you have studied, one chewing gum. Now, no chewing gum is needed for him. Now, subsequently what happened is, here he wanted to come out of his already an established habit, right? And he wanted to cultivate a new habit. And how do you do this? This only not confronting with the whole habit. You have to retrain your brain, right? For which the new habit that you have to, cultivate. So just a simple corollary, Sri Ramakrishna says, if you want to go towards east, walk towards east, west will automatically, will be far away from you. But west will not disappear. Remember that. Your old habits, impression will be there in your brain, but it will be so subdued, but because you are not consciously reactivating it. So when I walk towards the east, that the new habit which I want to cultivate, right, the old will be there, but it will not be very, it doesn't influence me very well. This also is one of the concept, right, in this neural plasticity. If you look at the brain, evolutionary, we know that we have two parts of the brain, the old part and the new part. You have seen in the morning also. The old part of the brain is one, we call it as emotional brain, where the animals also have emotions. If you look at the emotions, I can say, you say Harishadvargas, all Kama, Krodha, Lobha, all those things. And mind you, all these negative thoughts or the negative habits, if at our experience, it is so automatic. If I want to become angry, angry doesn't come, say, anger, I'm coming, and anger will not come. It is automatic. Jealousy is automatic. Everything is so automatic. So, I've given a corollary for all these automatic negative thoughts as ants. ANTS is automatic negative thoughts. It comes. But on the contrary, if you want to develop a new habit, a holistic habit, to counteract the old established, the negative thoughts, you have to be trained. So training is what that is very, very essential for us to cultivate the new habit. Now, which is the part of the brain, right, which helps is your frontal lobe. This part of the brain which is just present behind your head. This is what it makes the difference between the human being and the animals. And what is the amazing capacity the nature has given in this frontal lobe, that we can traverse in time, back and future. Today I can sit here and imagine what I should be in 10 years ahead. But animals cannot do this. You can traverse in time. This unique capacity to traverse in time is what makes us more creative. Animals cannot do this. And we have to utilize this particular unique capacity of the frontal lobe. And how do you end? This frontal lobe is one of the most fertile area, right, where it doesn't have any impressions, where you can build or you can grow your own crop. You sow a good seed, you get a good crop. You sow a bad thought, you get a bad crop. So this is where your frontal lobe plays a very, very important role. So what is there in this frontal lobe? I want to show you this. If you look at this frontal lobe, as I said you in the field of epigenetics, if I have been a genetically determined to become an addict for something, all these our behavioral addiction is present in your frontal lobe. To activate this frontal lobe, non-genetic variations are very, very important. Among those non-genetic variations, three important things that I have to emphasize here is your motivation, your task demand, and your emotional state. Your balanced emotional state, your motivation plays a very, very important role to express the dormant genetic code, that is present in your frontal lobe. That's what I said in the further. Your microenvironment that you create in your brain from your mind plays a very, very important role, right, in expression of your genes. The other three important things that, and just one more example, I'll just tell you, just 1 minute. I had one student who was very good in writing, his writing skills. But to get that stimulus for him to write, to get that bright idea, he wanted to smoke. Every time, he used to smoke and write. He said, sir, smoking is what, it takes my brain high, and I get a new idea. I told, okay, your nicotine is just a mediate to release certain chemicals in your brain. Whether that particular, any person who smokes should get a high, because this is how the chemicals acts. If somebody smokes and says, no, I don't get a high, either he has not smoked a nicotine or he is just bluffing, that's all. Or he may be an addict. Now I told him, see, whenever your frontal lobe is filled with your happy hormones, it can be dopamine, serotonin, or whatever it is, right? You get those amazing new ideas. And how do you do it? Very simple thing, and it has been shown by the reproducible facts from the neuroscience point of view, right? You calm down your mind, right? Chant Om, your serotonin, dopamine is increased. You serve others, serving, because you all feel, okay, everybody of us, you have that social neuroscience that is coming up, right? Your happy hormones increases, and when your happy hormone increases, right, and your state of mind will be very focused and your bright ideas will come. So I asked him to come to every weekend. I gave him certain, practices, of course, along with Swamiji's studies and all. Then he told, sir, when I get up, I read something on Swamiji and I practice all these things, I will get a good idea. Then I start writing it. For him, he used to smoke tobacco not because of tobacco, but he wanted that kick of an idea. And when you get that kick of idea for something else, your thing will go away. Just I told you only about the habit. I never went into an addiction. Addiction is a separate, different thing. It's just a regular habit which is not being yet addicted yet. Please don't confuse my talk with addiction. Addiction is different, and habit is something what I'm talked. So every habit that we cultivate, right, we become part and parcel of that particular habit, not because of the habit per se, but because of that practice, we get something else. So we should have that intuitive mind to understand what is that I'm getting because of this habit, right? And you should have the triggering point to understand the triggering point, and we should visualize whether if I cultivate this particular habit in a long run, is it good or bad for me? If it is good, go ahead. If it is bad, you should have an alternative, but never confront with the habit. So the take-home message is always this, right? Change is not by controlling, it's only by training. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Ravindra. We always need to invest positively than to confront old devils. A very, very splendid message that Swami Vivekananda put it across to all of you. Remember, put efforts to bring out, manifest the immense positive possibilities in you, rather than wondering about all the baggage that you carry around. The baggage will fall off.